I think it's going to be exciting to go up against Bjergsen again. To be honest, I don't really know what to expect. It's been a while since I played against him, but you know, we always have some pretty fun matches, so I just hope it's going to be a good one, to be honest.
Welcome back to the LCS and the State Farm Analyst Desk. It has been 652 days since Jensen and Bjergsen last went up against each other on the LCS stage, which makes that matchup right here between Cloud9 and Team Liquid all that much more exciting.
I remember that game.
Okay.
Yeah,
what was the matchup? What was the matchup?
I was the coach.
What was the matchup?
Orianna versus Zillion. TL was 2-1 up. We played Zillion game 4, lost. Played Orianna game 5. Broxah was like 5-0 on Graves. Speaker was on freaking Rivershen.
Yeah.
And they just win like these ridiculous fights, even though we were way ahead. And
you can't beat the Rivershen.
Then TSM won the split, even though it felt like we had their number like the whole year. Anyway.
Wow, it's coming out.
I love it. Not a good moment.
I love it. I love it. I mean, that was almost 2 whole years ago, and here they are, the 1 and 2 of the LCS mid laners, right? I mean, that's what this is. It's a re-meeting of these 2 greats. I mean, right there, the win column, the top number on your screen. It's actually Jensen who's done Bjergsen 1 better in their head-to-heads all the time.
Yeah, this surprised me at A, how close it was, and then B, that Jensen had the 1 win, especially since, like, I feel like when we think about these 2 mid laners, their entire careers, all this other stuff, there were a bunch of years, in my opinion, and as a journalist at the time, that I thought Jensen wasn't getting nearly as much credit as Bjergsen was for a lot of the plays that he was making back when he was on C9 at the time. So.
Yeah, I really like how the wins are so close, because I think when I look at these 2 players, Bjergsen is in almost every way the LCS GOAT.
Yeah.
Because of his consistency and his ability to consistently play at a very high level. Jensen, I think, can have higher peaks than Bjergsen. And specifically, when he's playing against Bjergsen, I think he elevates. So that's why Jensen versus Bjergsen is always so exciting.
Yeah, it's crazy. Kind of, you know, what Emily talked about. There was a split in my mind where Jensen wins, first All-Pro, LCS MVP Bjergsen.
He had 50 more kills than the next closest player and didn't win MVP.
It still sticks out in my mind to this day.
It was also my fault because I voted for Bjergsen.
No,
I had this like intangible stuff in my head.
I kind of want to drudge up that voting sheet.
Get it
and
out.
see. Let's start naming names.
I'm pretty sure as a journalist I voted for Jensen.
Respect for bringing it up, but yeah, it's one of those things.
Pulls out. I want to say I voted for Jensen in that, but I'm not positive. I'm not positive.
That's the history of this matchup, though. Like it's been,
it is. That's what it is.
Even in award voting, there's a rivalry there. So
exactly.
Then they've swapped around now too, like
especially the drama in particular about the circumstances that he's been very public about when he got out, when he was like not on TL anymore. It was like, what happened? You know, like the idea of him switching to AD, like wanting to work with Bjergsen, it would be like, oh, a team with Bjergsen and Jensen, right? Oh, but here comes Hansama. Out of nowhere, Hansama with the elbow drop. And it's like, so that story, there's so much that comes into this specific matchup that draws my attention and the fans' attention, fans from TL, C9, and those individuals, that now we finally get the matchup of these 2 individuals.
I'll at least say from my perspective, I'm glad that Jensen remains in the mid lane so that we get this once again. Now, while Bjerg and Jensen have a score to settle, it seems that Team Liquid Honda as a whole have settled into a new style this summer. Take a look.
We're all really capable players, and some of the issues we had in spring were the fact that we just, you know, we didn't place ourselves in the team individually. So when we built this roster, at least, when Steve built this roster, I'm sure he looked at me as like, I'm the weak side player, I should be, you know, Hans core is where you want to have the pressure, and that's the type of team you want to be. And I think that we were too afraid of embracing that and being like, you know what, that's our style, that's who we're going to be, and if you're good enough to beat us, come at us. We tried to be a more, you know, 2-dimensional team where, you know, we were like, oh, we should be able to play topside, we should be able to play mid, we should be able to play everywhere. And I just don't think that that's something that we, you know, we were ready for just yet. And I think that coming into summer, we just recognized, like, look, this is what this team is going to be best at, and we're going to commit to that. And you know, I'm not scared of announcing that, because I don't think there's a single team in the LCS good enough to contest us at that, so I don't mind.
So this was super interesting to me because it's something that we talked about with TL constantly, especially when we were talking about MVP voting, right? Where we had our own little TL mountain over there because we're like, they're all really good players. You can play around any of them. And it was really interesting to me to see Bwipo come out and be like, you know what? I should play weak side. This is how we are optimized to play. And I feel like we've even seen that in their first few games, especially in the first one with that Lucian Nami game.
Yeah. I'll say, like, for me, there's a difference between a team that will play through every lane, right? Or can play through every lane.
Yes.
And so, like, the idea of throughout the regular season, we will be the, you know, the Azubu Flame kind of like one-trick warhorse, like that we are playing through this one style, but when it goes to a best of 5 and we're put in position that it's much more better for us in a draft to play through top line, Bwipo's going to be that person who can smash the, like, lock in the Fiora, right? So I think it is definitely a change of mentality where you're like, this is our best style, we will, like, play that, and that's going to be something that we're known for. But if we're forced into a different direction, we can do it. I think that's what they're understanding here.
Yeah.
It's a really scary thing to commit to. But it's also something that TL did commit to in the past.
Yeah.
I can tell you, actually, like, going back to the last time, like, Jensen and Bjergsen might have played against each other, in 2020 summer towards playoffs, we had a thing that we called liquid champs.
Okay.
Like, we had so many failed scrims with champions that were in meta that just didn't work for us. We just kind of made a rule, like, we're only going to play liquid champs, and we'd have like 7 champions in each role, and we wouldn't vary outside of that. And a lot of people can look at that and say it was stupid. We eventually had to pivot away at Worlds when we were 0-2 and added a few champions in that we were more willing to play after more practice. I think I still like it, even though it seems like a really counterintuitive thing to do, because every player, when they first have that, it's going to feel really insulting.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you don't think I can play Fiora? Like, oh, you don't think I can play Volibear? Like, something like that.
Right.
But
as opposed to reframing to, you're just that much better at this other stuff.
But that was also a split where, like, Team Liquid had been in the dumps and then had their best record ever, in part due to simplicity.
Yeah.
So the fact that they can have such a superstar roster, I think if they actually do buy into simplicity, the whole split, you could see a really, really good record.
But you're making the case that that is a dangerous thing?
It's scary.
It can be.
Because
It's
if the meta
scary.
pivots
Yeah.
too much, you're going to feel like you're not prepared.
Yeah.
Like, it's always a balance between what is optimal and what is optimal for you.
Okay.
And if that gets too out of place, then you're like, oh no, we're so far behind.
God,
So-
I want to talk about this more.
Oh,
but
yeah.
we only
It's
have a
an
minute to
entire
go. We only have a
discussion.
minute to go until this matchup. So I do want to hit on Cloud9 beyond Jensen. Obviously, still operating at partial power without their intended bot lane, but that is the lane that I want to focus on at the moment. King, Destiny, so far leaving something to be desired, Raz.
Yeah, I mean, just their last game, you know, getting 2v2 killed, those are the type of things you definitely do not want, especially when you're coming in with a few changes, just wholesale, like Fudge coming into the top lane, Jensen coming back. Like, those are going to be the places that are going to be a little bit harder to find adjustments for. I think those two individuals have been playing really well, but for King and Destiny, who was their academy bot lane, right? And also just a bot lane that has played together when they were in Oceania and had been to Worlds, these type of things. Like, I definitely want to see a lot better from them. That being said, we're kind of just waiting for Berserker and Guzan to be here with the team so they can start proper.
A massive matchup ahead of us. It's the return of the Kings in the mid lane, Bjergsen versus Jensen, and we got a tri-cast for this third game of the day. It's Captain Flowers, Azeal, and Markz. Gents, enjoy.
They're not the only Kings returning. That's right. We have the literal world champion himself, Mr. Isaac Azeal Cummings-Bentley here joining us for the TriCast for our C9 versus TL head-to-head. There's a lot of rivalry between these two teams historically. The big issue, the elephant in the room, is still the fact that Cloud9 is playing with a backup bot lane, however.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that is a really big deal, so we can't overlook that. TL has looked incredibly dominant as well in their first 2 games. They have been playing very, very fast. They've been playing very aggressive, which has been really refreshing in a meta that a lot of people had been looking at as, okay, it's all slow, it's play for late. TL is just stomping you.
That plus the fact that they are the super team at the start of the year that everyone was gassed up about, and they ended up ending spring on a back foot, not good at all. And so to come out angry and aggressive and perfect gaming people is exactly what everyone wanted to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And even though C9 doesn't have their started bot lane, you already know Jensen's going to want to have a good game here against Bjergsen.
Oh, yeah.
Those guys have had a rivalry pretty much as long as they were in the league. You know, I think back to the very first game that Jensen played in the LCS. I was watching in the studio as a fan, Bjergsen went up, I want to say 100+ CS on him,
my God.
but then Jensen won, right? And it was like, right from the word go, I remember them having this rivalry, right? And it was always those two are number 1 and 2 in the league, but almost always people are putting Bjergsen above Jensen, so you know Jensen is going to want to be putting Bjergsen down a peg here.
Yeah, and even right beforehand, the LCS Twitter account tweeted about how it's been 650 days or something since we got to see these two go head-to-head, so it's been quite a while, my friends. Bans are already over. It's Gragas, Senna, Fiora, Zeri, Lucian, and Kalista all banned away. And who is that? It is Ezreal, locked in immediately yet again, but answered by Tom and Jerry here in the bot lane for C9.
Yeah, this is exciting. We saw a couple Twitch bans the other day, and then of course, Twitch did come out in the last game. Wasn't a loss, but I do think it is a really, really strong scaling duo. Obviously, the submarine combos that you can pull off are really strong. I also really love Shen as a pairing, and I think Shen is kind of undervalued in this meta currently. Has some pretty strong matchups, works really well with this, so it'd be interesting to see if Fudge is willing to bring something like that out.
Yeah, I think last game you saw why it's such a deadly pairing, even though it ended up losing that game. They found a ton of pickoffs just off the back of having that Twitch, and I think in terms of composition, they had a ton of damage in that. You can also just work with him with frontline. It doesn't have to be like, everyone go in and kill with Twitch. You can also just actually peel for him. You can play control mages with him. He is more versatile than just like a pick champion or something.
Absolutely. It's going to be interesting though. You know, I was going to say if Karma did actually get right out, of course we saw the Sona Ezreal combo. Sona I think is much better of a scaling champion than the Karma, but is a lot weaker as far as the actual laning phase. Now though, with the LeBlanc being grabbed up here for Bjergsen, you are expecting Karma to get banned out in the second phase of bans here for Cloud9. Love the zillion hovers here from Jensen.
I was about to say, it's such a funny rivalry as well because Jensen loves it, or seems to enjoy playing into the rivalry more than Bjergsen, who's just like stone-faced, doesn't acknowledge any narrative. He's like, no, PoE and I don't have a rivalry. No, Jensen and I don't have a rivalry. It's so funny seeing the two sides of it.
They're just another man.
Yeah.
First half of our draft is locked in. It's Wukong yet again. Been seeing a ton of this champion in the jungle recently, going up against Volibear, who is also incredibly powerful in the current state of the game. Really good at being one of those frontliners, being one of those engagers, and getting your team off to maybe some playmaking in a world where playmaking's harder in the early game.
Well, and one of the things I think is really interesting to kind of consider is everyone talks about how much stronger champions, how much stronger the towers are. So I think that champions that can actually enable tower dives in this meta become stronger as a consequence, right? Vladimir is one of the things you can actually immune tower shots with the pool. Volibear can turn them off. Champions like Zillion can have the revives. Ways to actually pull off tower dives in a meta that are more difficult does become really, really valuable. And Blaber is an aggressive player, so I'm excited to see if he can actually enable some of that early action and pull off some of the dives that we have been seeing a lot less of on 12-10 and later.
All right, well, the bans are done in the second half for C9. They are banning the Karma away from the Ezreal there for the duo. Olaf also banned away. Remember, Olaf is seen as a top laner.
You better respect him for that first game.
Yeah, the perfect game off the back of Bwipo just running over kids. I can understand wanting to pull that one down.
And I mean, it's been such a good pick for him in solo queue. You know, if you watch any of his streams in Korea at their bootcamp, he was slaughtering people in high challenger with the Olaf. Swain with another one that I'm really excited to see if he's going to bring it out. You know, Bwipo has been bringing out new picks, up to 20-something or at least 20 unique champions across the year. Both the first 2 days were new champs for him. It won't be a new one, you know, just yet, but we'll see if he has something interesting to kind of answer the GP with. Like, Kayle is actually a pretty good matchup if you wanted to bring out a new champion that does scale well into this.
But Kayle is banned.
Oh, excuse me, I missed that.
Kayle is banned, but also you've seen the mid-jungle combination of LeBlanc, Wukong. I'm surprised to blind your top laner for C9 here instead of just taking Jensen for your mid laner so you can do the counter pick for your top laner later. It's a little surprising to me.
I think that they were maybe thinking the GP was going to get taken away, right? And so I think if you're doing it as a takeaway, but it's going to be Swain. So Swain almost guaranteed this is going to be top lane as an answer. Another range champion that does actually work fairly well into GP. People generally like a lot of the range champions just because the interactions with barrels are much more favorable for range champions. So much of playing top Swain, though, is about can you actually connect with your E, right? Yeah. Because if you are not connecting with that E, if you throw out the E and they move forward into you to trade, it connects with the range minions. Now you really only have your Q to actually play around.
And the cooldown's not low enough.
Exactly. And GP can start to go a little bit more aggressive there in those situations. It's also pretty easy to itemize, you know, an early Hex Drink or something like that for Fudge because it is double AP solo laners. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that top lane matchup goes. You look unhappy about the Corki, but I do think there's a lot of ability for there to be action on the TL side. And I'm going to look at this from the lens that you have a TL squad that wants to push the pace of the game and has the tools to do so against a scaling champion in mid lane, which can be exploited, right? You've got LeBlanc, Bard, and Wukong. Like, they want to make stuff happen.
They want to, and the other team is going to try and make that not happen. I'm with Captain Flowers with the sad face, man. GP, Corki, Twitch, Yuumi a little bit more aggressive with the Volibear, but it's kind of 3 scaling lanes, and I guess Volibear is going to be trying to act more as a bridge champion to negate any Wukong aggression and make sure that you're there to stop your game from turning, like you said, because TL want to turn up the pace of the game.
And I mean, you can really, even though there's not great gank setup, obviously, for the Volibear, things like the Swain that are going to be able to push to actually try to win out in that lane. He wants to push, wants to play aggressive. You know, when you're overextending the lane, you can be taken advantage of. Bwipo looks like he's going to be playing Ghost, which is an interesting adaptation. He did this on the Olaf. I also think it can be really, really strong on the Swain. I'm interested to see if he goes Mandate this game. Rylai's either way with the Ghost allows you to stay in range and keep that ultimate going.
I'm just excited to see these two go head-to-head again, man. TL versus C9, it's always spicy. It's always a good time. Bjergsen and Jensen going head-to-head again. Let's rock and roll. Jensen back head-to-head on Summoner's Rift. Cloud9 with that Volibear for some playmaking early. Bjergsen on a LeBlanc. You always want to see what he's going to pull out here on something like this, too.
I mean, this is one of his kind of iconic champions. You know, when you think of Bjergsen in the early days, dominating in the league, it was on a lot of these aggressive champions. LeBlanc is one of them that he was really well known for. I do like the move from Destiny, just going up towards topside, expecting that Swain will be hovering in that area. Even just getting mana flow proc plus a little bit of Spell Thieves gold is always going to be nice.
Got some loud chants in the audience right now, going back and forth a little bit. C9 at least sounds like it's winning to me.
Yeah, C9 needs that. They're 0-2 right now. They do not want to start off this opening week. Subs or not, whatever. Your record's your record. You don't want to be 0-3 starting off Summer Split here, but going up against a Team Liquid that's been looking ferocious, it's a tall order.
I think, one, obviously the individual rivalry between Jensen and Bjergsen. Jensen wants to win. 2, you don't want to go 0-3. And also, I just find that you were the big opponents in the regular season last split. It was their matchups that people were looking forward to the most.
Yeah.
Look at that right there. A couple of the little health shrines there, hot cocos, dropped by CoreJJ. The W start is something that we used to see a fair bit with Bard when it was back in the meta. And this is actually a pretty big deal. Each of them heals at full kind of charge for about 70 or 80. So it is an additional potion, essentially, that he's given for Bjergsen. Yeah. That will allow Bjergsen to try to trade more aggressively, use that to try to win out in the lane. Bwipo here with the Q start. So most people do go E start these days on Swain top, but he's going for a little bit more of the aggressive option. You know, he's trying to push very heavily. You can see may feel that he's going to get kind of whittled down. So starting Q, if you want to get the shove, makes a lot of sense. Non-stop auto attack, try to push, and probably go for a quick reset here afterwards.
Plus, starting with Corrupting Potion plus Cookie's Mastery together means he's going to have a lot of recovery for that aggressive trading, being able to recover the resources that he loses by spamming the abilities and whatnot.
Plus, top to bot, or bot to top, excuse me, top clear for the junglers. You can see that Santorin will be coming up there to support him. So if you're just trying to shove, harass the GP in, you're going to be getting some backup in your pocket in a minute here.
Well, the thing to worry about is what you were pointing out earlier, Isaac. Even though Gangplank doesn't have a lot of setup for a great gank, Swain doesn't have a lot of ways out. And Volibear is an awesome early jungler. Santorin's ready to go here as Bjergsen flashes away, and Jensen lets him know.
Bjergsen trying to flash past the minions there. I'm not sure if that was a prediction on a reactive flash from Jensen, but it was pretty off target there. It looked like it was over to the left. You know, trying to flash beyond, land the chain. If he lands that, you know, Jensen at the very least would have had the Valk flash, but now Blaber here just covering the push. Yep. A nice start here for Jensen is he's going to be able to get a quick reset. And I wouldn't be surprised if he goes, you know, just kind of a more defensive build, right? He can just go towards Hex Drinker, you know, Tier, Cull, that sort of a style, and really just look to farm it out.
Yeah, back the last time we saw Corki in spring, when him and Victor were taking over everything, Corki's ability to build Hex Drinker into AP matchups is one of the big strengths of him during that laning phase to transition into that late game abomination of rocket spam, and it's just so damn good.
Well, and there was also that period of time where there was a debate about which you should be going. A lot of people were going for the shield bow build. I know Bjergsen tended to build that more often. There's been a lot of debate about that recently. Yeah, and I think for the most part, people have landed more on the first strike poke build that you see kind of taking over, and you saw already earlier against
Ludens,
Jensen
Hydra, all that good stuff. Yeah.
Jensen got exploded by that earlier in game 1, so he knows, like, okay, that's some BS.
Living rent free right now.
It's in his head.
Yeah. Fudge here, pushing up. Blaber is behind him. And remember, Bwipo has no flash. They're going to look for him.
Okay, Bwipo ghosting away. He gets hit by Volibear lightning. He gets hit by one barrel, but overall he's all right. Blaber's just going to help shove this wave up underneath the turret. There is plenty of minions here for Bwipo to be able to pick up. He has already teleported back into the lane. Fudge has not used his CP yet, so he'll stick around, make sure this wave gets shoved up, expend whatever health and mana he can, and then he'll be able to rejoin back up here after he shoves.
And that's why Blaber resetting the wave was actually really important, right? Because Bwipo did what I said. You know, he started Q, he pushed in very hard, spends all the resources, and then he actually TP'd immediately back to try to lock the GP in lane with an additional buy. And when you go for that, you really need your jungler to come topside to help reset the wave. He does do so. And that's going to allow him to kind of get out of that situation. They would be locked in with the item disadvantage. Has enough gold for the Sheen and boots. Going to be feeling really good about that reset. Things looking pretty good so far.
So where do we want to see our junglers looking at here? Or do you feel like it's just going to be another one of those really slow, like slow burn early games before we get fights only at objectives later on?
Well, TL definitely want to pick the pace of the game up, and I think you saw that with the mid lane attempt. It just didn't go well. I think LeBlanc has the easiest setup if you can do that. Without the flash, it's going to be more difficult, and Santorin will have to adapt or start working with CoreJJ to try and get on the map and make things happen, because that is Bard's big strength, is not just sitting here and trying to poke a rat in lane.
Ooh, CoreJJ going on a magical journey through the wall. Beautiful stun there, making sure that they get the maximum amount of damage on the King.
Yeah, Destiny trying to actually attach the King there to heal him, but that allows CoreJJ to land the binding stun, had the timing on it, really well played by Core. And I agree, Mark, you know, from my mind, he should be linking up with CoreJJ, Santorin and Core, moving around the map, looking to attack, and they're going to try to set up a dive here.
TL looking for it. King tries to get away. There comes some Bard CC yet again, but it ain't enough. They don't get the stun, so King gets out.
Here comes
and
Blaber and Jensen.
Cloud9 is sending the cavalry. TL wants to get out. They get back past their own minion wave. Blaber's coming in, goes for the flash, finds the stun, but he's all alone for now. TL firing back. Blaber going to be taken low, but Han's going to be taken down. First blood over to King. Santorin is not going to be dropped just yet. Bjergsen jumps in, makes it a 1-for-1. Double kill back over to Bjerg. And he is ready to go 2-1. TL.
Scrapping already in the bottom lane. You guys didn't think we're getting action. We're getting action already. Bjergsen, 2 kills in the bottom lane that early on. Off of TL, you know, trying to get that early dive. C9 thought they could have the turnaround, just were barely able to get out, you know, utilizing GP's ult for the slow, escaping out, and then looking for that re-engage, but Bjergsen on the roam really punishing them.
I think this was a great, like you said already, the double stun here that comes in as he tries to link up with the rat, gets that, and forces out a lot of the defensive summoners early on. So even though they don't get these follow-up kills when they eventually portal in over the wall with Santorin, they are still putting King so far in the back foot that when they try to re-engage much later on in the play, they're end up going to get exploded by Bjergsen because there's no more summoners available.
That GP ult was actually so good from Fudge. You know, that really did make the difference. The slow on all 3 TL members allowed King to stay alive. Then Blaber arrives looking for this re-engage, but it's all about Bjergsen trailing the play here. Jensen does come in, but you see these low health bars at the top of your screen there. Blaber and King. Bjergsen goes straight in, distortion, ultimate distortion, follows up again, AoEing both of them down, 2 early kills, gets the Sork boots, he's ready to go.
And it's huge to be on Bjergsen. Not just like, oh, Bjergsen the name, but LeBlanc in this game, having the agency to go and explode people in this game, move around the map and spread it up to the top side and the bot side, where you're probably going to have priority for most of this early game.
I mean, it's the situation with assassins in general, but I feel like even more in the current state of the game, playing an assassin on curve with everybody else versus being accelerated is so much different, because it's all about that 100-0 one-shot.
It absolutely is, right? And MR was added as a scaling stat. You know, the MR base stats, you know, weren't really ramped up, so it does help a lot to be ahead of the curve of the game there, get that spell pen in early, and really try to snowball this game.
And instant respect, Hex Drinkers picked up by both solo laners on C9 side. They're like, all right, that's a strong LeBlanc. It is double AP solo lanes.
Exactly.
Anyways,
in general, it's good.
You would have done it first item anyways, but it's especially
more imperative now.
It feels like, okay, well, the LeBlanc's fed. We need these.
For sure. It's always funny, but I just think it's a great buy. MR is going to be hyper effective effective against this team. You have Bard, magic damage, LeBlanc, pure magic damage, Swain, pure magic damage, Ezreal, a fair bit of magic damage mixed in as well. So I do think it's super, super effective, and I think we're going to see a lot of MR this game. I'm expecting Blaber, to get a Force of Nature relatively early on as well. I wouldn't be surprised to see King moving towards a Hex Drinker, but maybe he doesn't feel like he can make that pit stop. It would have to probably be later on if he's worried about slowing down his item build.
I definitely think as Twitch, you want to be more focused on getting your items for damage right out the gate. Especially
it wouldn't be at first. It would be like after 2 items or 3.
Especially with the Yuumi, whose job is mostly to be attached to you for submarines and stuff like that, that you will have heals coming in, barriers, exhausts, the summoner heal as well, that you should not be getting exploded if you're playing well. And stopping your damage to account for me not playing well is not a good use of gold.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just going to be, can he think he can kind of survive against the potential dive, right? Because it is very scary. Set up from Bard, Wukong, LeBlanc, Swain, everyone coming in over top. And I do think that the Yuumi has multiple uses in this game. Obviously early mid-game, you're going to be sitting with the Twitch. You're going to be looking potentially for these assassinations. But I think in the later stages, when Corki's on like 3 items,
you just sit on him.
You just sit on Corki, and you give Corki that safety. But TL moving 4 down, you can see Bjergsen moving down here is going to be spotted by that ward. Blaber's in the area. But they're going to drop the Herald, and they're just going to take it right in the face of C9. Jensen on the roam, but he can be caught out.
Destiny fires off the ulti. CoreJJ just gets exploded. It's the ulti from Fudge that gets the kill credit. So TL forcing a little bit too hard down there to try to get that turret, be able to use the Herald to secure the entire thing. They'll only get the 2 plates, and C9 takes the kill.
Really nice punish by Destiny there. The triple lockup with the Yuumi allowing the GP damage on top. They're not done yet.
Hans gets back. Is he back enough? The poison! The bear is there! And Blaber makes it a 3-2 game.
Blaber hops the wall and slams down on top of Hans, turning it a 2-for-0 in the bot lane, evening out the gold advantage as well with this scaling team comp.
Yeah, the kill was nice for Blaber, but how much better would it have been if he just Goomba stomped him? Not getting him with the ulti.
You don't like the Q kill?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, who even cares about the kill at that
I thought
point?
it was going to be the airy damage finishing him off, actually, from the Yuumi. It was a little bit disappointing. Had to have Blaber come in.
The least emphatic kill.
Yeah.
The airy, the little water dragon just tickling you.
I thought it was a squirrel.
I don't know what it is.
I'm pretty sure it's a squirrel, man. It's got like ears.
I love the expectations being shut down. No big explosion.
Dragons don't have ears?
No, dude. Dragons don't have ears. They have horns.
They got ear holes. It's
like they still have ears.
That's not. I mean, like big, floofy, puffy ears.
I don't think
we're gonna move
reptile.
No, we ain't doing this anymore. I apologize. This never should have come up in the first place. Let's get back to the game. We got a minute and a half until Drake number 2 spawns. The Rift Herald already been taken a while ago, so he ain't gonna be up and available for anybody to be working with here anytime soon. Bottom lane tier 1 turret, very, 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 very low HP. TL would love to be able to finish this one off. They're gonna have 2.5 more minutes with plates still there. Bjergsen going aggro on Jensen, getting some of them trades in there, but you can see the power of the MR from the Hex Drinker. And thank you so much for highlighting Blade of the Ruined King done for Twitch. Makes him much scarier.
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking a lot about the builds, Twitch builds with Freak, while we were watching the previous game. And the kind of highest win rate by quite a bit is actually, Blade of Ruined King straight into the Hurricane, and delaying the Mythic towards 3rd. It is a really, really powerful spike. Blade of the Ruined King has always been the kind of like dueling item classic, back to when it was an active item, but the same does remain true. It slows down your 3rd item spike a lot because IE is massive for Twitch, and we saw that kind of come to bite Twitch in the butt last game, but it does make your early and mid game very, very strong.
And when you need to accelerate things a little bit, when you want to try to contest these guys like Team Liquid who are trying to make moves, sometimes that earlier power spike is worth its weight in gold. And now up top side, Bwipo and Fudge. Let's check in on how things are going up here. It's Fudge with a very slight farm advantage. These guys, we've seen Fudge participate in those bottom lane fights just through the use of the ulti. Like you said, his ult was critical in getting King out of trouble there on that first dive that was coming in from the side of TL. It was also Fudge who ended up getting the kill credit with that on CoreJJ in bottom lane. But now both junglers have shown up in the bot lane yet again. We got the potential for a 3v3 here, but instead it's just a standoff as the Drake spawns, and there's a ward in the pit from CoreJJ and Team Liquid.
I think Cloud9's done a great job this time finding the windows where TL wants to move into the bot side and punishing or just stopping their plays from coming through. This is a bot lane, like we said, substitute bot lane that has been attacked a fair amount so far through these first 3 games, and I like the fact that Cloud9's doing a better job this time protecting them and not just leaving them on an island.
Oh, Bjergsen running into the pit there.
Back
Blaber
there.
activating the Q. There's no way to really chase Bjergsen over the wall unless you want to commit ulti, and you don't want to do that. So C9 will chase the Team Liquid mid laner away, and now they're the ones who have started up the Drake. TL's not really in any condition to try to contest this. Bwipo was walking down, but Fudge can just contribute with the ulti, no problem whatsoever. Bwipo grabbing Jensen, pulling him in here a little bit as Bjergsen goes over the wall looking for King. Not going to get meaningful damage there. Bwipo ultis, but has to disengage. Nothing really shows up out of it. C9 takes the Drake, but Team Liquid is going to get this bottom lane tier 1 turret. Will they get it in time for the plates? Yes, 13.59. They get the extra money.
Right down to the last second there. Big pickup by Team Liquid. And so far, I actually like they're trying to punish Cloud9 on the way out, but just too many defensive tools available. And both teams kind of advancing their game plan there. Team Liquid wanting gold, wanting team fight power. Now, C9 happy to stack these dragons because come 25 minutes into the game, they should be the stronger 5v5 team comp.
And I actually really liked Fudge ult in that fight. I know it looked pretty silly, but it was unironically a zoning ult so they could retreat up. They see Swain coming down. Fudge does not have TP, so he can't actually join. So they just want to slow the larger squad from TL and move up towards the tower in mid lane to try to really escape from that. Something I always like to check in on is the stacks, soul stacks there for Bwipo. Has gotten 12. He was only actually 5 in the 1v1 against Fudge, so Fudge has done a really good job of avoiding it through the first 12 or so minutes of the game. On that roam down, did pick up a couple stacks with the W and the E connecting onto Jensen. But it's actually a pretty big deal, especially when you are going, legendaries first. You're not building any HP. You don't have the flat HP increase like you used to with the Swain, the old Swain.
Soul fragments, yeah.
So it is something that's very important to actually continually get those souls throughout the game so you're not really, really squishy. Otherwise, you're a champion that has to be in a very close range with no bonus health, no bonus stats.
Well, Team Liquid, having lost both of the early Drakes, will, however, secure themselves both of the early Heralds. Remember that Herald #1 was used there in the bottom lane. They tried to force the entire turret. It ended up getting punished with the death from CoreJJ that they got for Fudge's ulti. Let's see how they use this second one here, 15 minutes. Going back to what you were talking about last game, Mark, you say you like to see it used on the tier 1 turrets if they're still up. Well, they're still standing.
Still standing. There's some attention to Fudge here, but this is one of the reasons the double AP soul lane's frustrating, because when you put your LeBlanc into this side lane, if it had been an AD matchup, you might not have as much MR stacked up. Now, it's not nearly as threatening the fact that this 2-kill LeBlanc is showing up and you've itemized incorrectly. You can see that Fudge is actually able to trade quite well with Bjergsen there and able to stave off this aggression underneath the turret and allow Corki to stay mid.
Trial by fire plus turret shot. Bjergsen is not having a good time against that Gangplank. Goes for a barrel combo there, but Bjergsen gets out of the way in time. Fudge also had the flash, so if he manages to connect with that barrel on the auto attack, you can flash Q, and as long as you don't hit the clone, that's a kill.
Yeah, definitely a little bit threatening there. It is in a really good spot. Fudge kind of withstanding the early laning there from Swain. Swain does not have as good scaling after the nerfs. And Swain was really, really popular in solo queue on 12.10. I think the nerfs came through in 12.11, or it was the micro patch, I can't quite remember, that hit a lot of his scaling, right? So he's not as powerful towards the later stages of the game as he had been initially, but still can be an absolute beast in the team fights. There is the potential, though, that there's an overwhelming amount of damage on Cloud9. Like, there's a lot of damage potential on their team. And if you can keep the Swain at arm's length, with things like the GP slows, the Yuumi ultimate, and so on, then Swain becomes very, very squishy. You've got to stay on top of people with that ultimate to really be able to keep the drain going, and that's why I'm expecting him to go Rylai's second.
And to be fair as well, it's not really on the Swain to find the good team fight setup. You're hoping for CoreJJ to set you up so you can go flying in there, or Santorin to get a huge ultimate, or Bjergsen with a flank. Like, the Swain is follow-up, so he needs someone to land this engage, which puts more pressure on CoreJJ, and as well as the C9 guys for, like you're saying, Fudge and Destiny to keep people off their carries.
So let me ask you guys this. We're 17.5 minutes in. Game is still incredibly close, but C9 are grouping up here in mid lane, looking like they want to try to crash this in, maybe take this tier 1 turret, backing away now. Our third Drake of the game spawns in 1 minute. Are we getting a team fight for this, or is this just going to pass?
I think we are. I mean, we see a stopwatch already on Bwipo. That to me always signifies that you're getting ready to fight. You want to have that kind of big one-punch fight. 2 items are done for Hans. His tier is fully stacked. I think that they're kind of hitting that point where they are ready to scrap, and We'll see if that is going to be the case. 2 more soul stacks picked up there by Bwipo.
Yep, good awareness from him saying, okay, these guys are probably going to make some sort of a move here, not put himself in a spot where he can get jumped on by that as Blaber was rotating up. Santorin hanging out here on the bottom side next to Bjergsen. They'll clear out these control wards. You always love to see teams getting to the area before the objective actually spawns, clear out the vision, make it dangerous for your opponents to walk into the area itself. You can see there is still that Scryer's trinket in the brush by the blue buff. So at least C9 have that vision.
Swain is moving down, and GP for now is staying up. Oh, they actually forced the flash off of Twitch there with the Bard ulti. That is really big, because flash is still available on Santorin, so I wonder if this is going to mean C9 just give it up now with Herald drop mid and no flash.
Yeah, it looks like Team Liquid, yeah, they can easily force down that tier 1 turret. Doesn't look like they want to stick around long enough to guarantee the Shelly charge onto the tier 2, so C9 can disarm that one before it causes even more damage.
Whoa.
But a TP's coming in. C9 is ready to still try to do something here, but King in particular must be careful without that flash, as you said. Bwipo pulling a couple of them forward here, ripping out some more of those soul fragments. C9 grouped up as 5. Hansama gonna get flashed on. They're ready to go, but it's Blaber who's in the most trouble, as now the first kill comes through on the Cloud9 jungler. Santorin gets away to safety, and Jensen's gonna be killed now as well. Cloud9 are decimated, and Team Liquid slams that fight.
Cloud9 do not want to give up their dragon stacking, so they just brute force their way into River. That was such a force, and Team Liquid played that out so well. The knockups by Santorin when they were hard tunneling on finishing him off allowed the rest of Team Liquid to find those kills.
I mean, that just felt like a huge overforce from Cloud9 to me. When you're attacking away from the Swain, I understand the concept. You're hoping to really be able to burst down Hans right here. We can see it in the Rocket flip the switch replay. The problem is, as you engage away from the Swain, you're giving Swain the perfect flank, right? You're actually setting up the team fight that they want. Blaber's already chunked low, does flash in. The Arcane Shift and Flash were there from Hans. Blaber goes into the stasis, and then Bwipo is coming in behind. Remember, King has no flash. How is he ever going to be able to get out of this situation? The answer is that he's not. He's pushed away from Bwipo straight into the waiting arms of Bjergsen. Your carries are just decimated. A big overforce from C9 and just didn't have the correct setup.
This took a game that was dead even to now plus 2,000 for the side of Team Liquid. Let's take a look at the damage graph. 4,000 damage for Hansama. Remember, this is who they were going. This was the flash Volibear stun looking for him. It's so easy for Ezreal to disengage these things and still top the charts.
And it goes into what we were hearing from Bwipo in his interview just yesterday, I believe it was, talking about wanting to have a bit more refined of a playstyle as a team. We've seen more resources sent to Hansama in the bot lane this game. I think we're going to see a lot more of that this season because, as you can see, when you get him fed, he will hard carry a lot of these games. And I like them early on in this season already having such a good defined playstyle for Team Liquid.
Yeah, I mean, they're looking really strong. Cloud9 not of this by any means just yet, though. They do still have 2 dragons to their name. Yep. I think they have incredible scaling in this game. So TL will need to keep their foot on the gas here, continue pushing the pace of the game, and that's what they're trying to do here, setting up this deep line of vision. You know, this is basically all TL territory now at this point. C9 does have some defensive vision down on that bottom side, you know, this sort of quadrant over here, but really, it's TL taking over more and more, and now Blaber, you got no stopwatch, you're in trouble.
Blaber with the face check, gonna get caught up there inside CoreJJ's ulti. Blaber gets out. Jensen also barely at any HP. Bwipo, however, getting a little bit too spicy here, but Bjergsen goes over the wall, and Bjergsen goes unstoppable. Fudge continuing to get chased down now as Santorin has to back away. Oh, a little bit more will do it. Hansama picks up Fudge. Bjergsen's clone doesn't even die. Team Liquid just don't stop.
The skill shot accuracy, they just keep sniping people from over walls and things to lock them up. Santorin is fine. It was a really impressive way they got those kills there. It wasn't just like guaranteed lockdown CC. They sniped King over the wall first, and then Fudge in the middle of all those minions thinking that he was safe to set up both those kills off the back of a pretty tough face check by Blaber here.
I mean, this is one of the difficulties when you are playing with Enchanter supports, right? It becomes someone else's job to face check. Who else on the team is going to do it? It's up to Blaber. Does survive the initial play here. King getting a lot of damage out. It looked like Bwipo may have been able to go down, but then everything connecting here onto him. He gets rooted up, and he just gets absolutely exploded by Bjergsen, as well as Hans and CoreJJ forcing out the orange there onto Fudge.
Oh, and we're right back into it. We jump out of the replay into a repeat of a similar situation. Blaber barely staying alive, running back to the safety of the tier 2 turret, but Cloud9's jungle is owned by Team Liquid.
This is what's so impressive to me about how Team Liquid's playing this game. We just saw the Submarine Twitch able to find kills in the previous game, but Team Liquid have such a firm control on this top half of the map with their vision control that they're just not allowing any opportunities for this Twitch to find pickoff.
I mean, this has always been, I think, one of TL's greatest strengths is Santorin and CoreJJ working together to actually just completely shut out any vision they have. There's literally not a single ward on this side of the map that is active for C9. They have one in the pit that's turned off by the pink ward. So they're going to try to play cross map, but TL at some point can start to move towards that Baron and look to threaten it. I mean, look how scary this is to play. Blaber has to be the guy to face check it, but you know, he's got no stopwatch as he's building towards Force of Nature, which I do think is really, really effective, but they could be on the Baron right now, you don't know.
Bjergsen looking for King again. True shot barrage, nearly getting him staying alive thanks to the heals from the Yuumi. Oh, King. One more tick of Ignite would have done it, but luckily he gets away from that. Does not have a barrier any longer, still has his flash at least, but I just feel like every time we're seeing any moves being made this game, it's Team Liquid making them.
Durability update keeping Twitch alive there.
Is that what you guys were grinning about the whole time?
Durable.
Was who's going to say the word durability? I look over and these guys got a... What's the PG version of shit-eating green?
Well, not even said it. You don't need the PG version.
Flowers, what is the purpose of asking for the PG version and then saying the not PG version?
It happens.
It's a play-by-play brain. These things happen.
Mouth move fast.
Apologize.
Mouth move fast. Brain
Anyway,
move slow.
durability patch. That's what I meant to say. Next Drake is spawning, but Fudge might not be alive to see it. CoreJJ nearly connecting there on the Bard ulti. Santorin walks away as Bjergsen attaches the chain to the Volibear. Damage the enemy jungler. Make it unsafe for him to get anywhere near the objective, and you guarantee for free this next Drake. Blaber's at 200. He's going home and healing up.
I mean, even despite the bit of an overstep there by Santorin, you can feel almost how far Cloud9 is behind because they couldn't punish it in any way. The fact that Santorin's running away on almost no health. All they can do is kind of split the map right now. That's how they've gotten their turrets, is basically avoiding TL because they cannot contest them head-to-head at all.
Yep, and I do think that they're doing that fairly well because TL is making it pretty choreographed which side of the map they're trying to play towards. Yep. First, they had everything shut out up towards the Baron, then clearly they were trying to play towards the Dragon, so they cut out that side of the map. And C9 just say, all right, if you're there, we're going elsewhere. When they were playing towards the Baron side, Fudge went bot, took the tier 1. When they're playing towards the Dragon side, Jensen goes top, takes the tier 1, right? So Cloud9 still getting their gold. The FTX gold advantage has not really extended massively more than what we had seen a few minutes ago. It's still sitting there around 3K. It is a solid advantage, but with the scaling, I think, in the favor of Cloud9, they are going to have their opportunities. To me, what's more concerning is just the game state and how they've dominated the vision game, because I'm unsure how they're going to really wrest control of that back.
Well, Cloud9 have made it further away from their own territory, from their own base right now to establish some vision. You can see Jensen has the package. Even if you're behind, that does afford you more ability to sort of flex those muscles and make your opponents back up out of respect.
Strap a rumble to Corki's butt. It's pretty strong.
Exactly. It makes it work, but the problem is that will time out pretty soon. And then what's the play here for Cloud9?
And that's why I like Azeal's point about the game state.
The rumble with Corki.
I thought I was going to say rumble.
That wasn't a good point?
No, I was saying game state just because while the gold lead has stayed roughly the same, it's happened that way because C9 has sacked their win con of the Stacking Dragons. It's because when they have these windows, TL respects the Corki butt package, and bro.
That's one way to put it.
It's just heads up play by Team Liquid avoiding these kind of windows.
It was a good last cast with you guys.
Yeah, it's been great working with you, gentlemen. It's been an honor and a privilege these past 5 years.
When you put us together, our stupidity multiplies.
Oh, it's not a good thing.
Tri-cast first and last. All right, let's go ahead and see the state of things overall here for poor C9. Because, yeah, you've got the Twitch at this 2-item spike. It's Blade of the Ruined King plus a Kraken Slayer, so not the Runons like we were talking about earlier. He does go for the
high single target DPS.
Yeah, very high single target DPS. You can see another cloak in the inventory. I'm expecting this to just, again, try to maximize that damage.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to be a Hurricane third. Yep. Hurricane is just so valuable on Twitch. I understand wanting to go for single target, you know, especially if you're thinking, all right, we have to do an overwhelming amount of damage to take someone down, like someone as well, or pick someone off individually. It does make a lot of sense.
Well, Blaber has to ult defensively. That always feels good for TL because now they know some of that threat that could move towards the back line is nowhere to be found.
Oh, that ulti!
Jensen got caught mid-Falcon. Santorin's ready to go here with the spin. Corki is grounded. That ain't Top Gun. Cloud9 trying to get their AD carry away now, but Bwipo continues the chase. The rat goes splat! And just like that, Bjergsen is gone like it's too dead. Team Liquid's going to Baron.
CoreJJ with the ulti, connecting on multiple people there. Gets TL everything they need to go for the Baron here. Blaber's still alive, but no flash, no ult, no hope of getting into this pit. We'll see if they want to just try to completely commit to it, but there's just no way in.
You're just delivering Volibear a la carte if you walk into that. Santorin's got the smite ready to go. Blaber's hanging out. Not really going to get a whole lot out of this one, I would assume. Baron is gone. Team Liquid's got the objective. Fudge wants to get away. Now Fudge, he's trying to fight back a little bit, but he won't get Hans. Team Liquid picks up another one, and importantly, that is desynced from the other deaths in the fight. So now Team Liquid is able to get back. They can heal up. They'll be back out onto the map before Fudge is even alive.
Team Liquid gonna get a clean reset. No one ends up dropping there. I don't know exactly what C9 was doing. It's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you just sack the Baron, you're in a really tough position anyway. So I think they're just looking for that miracle 1% play where someone horribly ints around the Baron and you can steal that or something. After this team fight started so terribly. I mean, this is such a clean engage by CoreJJ. As we see, hold on.
We don't have the time for it, my friends. Blaber is trying to get away as Santorin is in hot pursuit. Blaber gets away thanks to the power of Destiny's heals and that blast cone, but with a true shot barrage coming in, Blaber has no choice but to finally use the ultimate there to get away. Jensen gets jumped on! Bjergsen! 8-0-3. Here on LeBlanc, it's a bit of a mid-diff.
That was a straight-up solo kill here at 30 minutes. Bjergsen is monster-fed with the Deathcap voice staff. He's got the Mage Eyes writing in his journal about how he beat Cloud9 today.
This one is pretty done, my friends. Nexus turrets, only one remains. Cloud9 trying to scramble, trying to defend. You got 20 seconds before that Corki is back online, and Team Liquid is not stopping anytime soon. They finally clear out that cannon minion, keeping that remaining Nexus turret alive at about 50% HP, but you've still got 10 more seconds that you got to defend without your Corki ready to go. Blaber trying to see if there's any sort of an angle. What is going to be the right time to try to stand and fight? It ain't now! He's already gone! And King will be next in line. Bjergsen goes legendary, and the rest of Cloud9 goes back to the fountain one way or the other. Jensen dropped one last time, and Team Liquid makes it look easy.
Team Liquid off to a boiling hot start, 3-0 in Summer Split. They look head and shoulders above the pack right now. The only other team contesting them is once again EG.
Oh man, you have to be so excited thinking about the prospect of that match. But what an opening weekend for TL, playing very aggressive, 3 straight games, dominating the opposition. Perfect game day 1. Day 2, absolute domination with something like 12-2 kill score. This is 16-4, really pushing the pace of the game. You know, bucking the trend, ignoring the fact that a lot of people's read was that you have to go scaling. And I do think when our top teams are playing aggressive and showing that, hey, you can be successful with mid-game and early picks, that is going to shift people's perception on the meta. That is going to shift how people are drafting.
Well, I also, hey, we can talk about draft, we can talk about these things. The big thing that stands out to me in that game is that we had a very close game state for about 20 minutes, and Cloud9's force on that fight to try to keep the Drake stacking alive for Drake number 3 after they had the 2-0 lead, that was just not it. That was the throw that really exploded the game, and from there, Team Liquid never gave up control.
That 2-0 lead, starting with Bjergsen getting the first 2 kills, and then just running over this game, ending at double digits, 10-0-4, not giving up a kill.
Yeah.
I know if you ask him about it, he'll deny that this game meant anything special to him, but like, I don't believe it what my eye saw in the Rift. That dude wanted to smash that game, and he was landing every skill shot.
Mission accomplished. 8-0-3 at the end. Well, no, it was 8-0-3 when they were pushing towards the Nexus. Yeah, because they padded the stats at the end, just picking up everybody one more. Yeah, he was all but like 1 kill participation that game. Bjergsen just coming in, cleaning up.
I mean,
on this LeBlanc.
It's really hard to ask for anything more, from TL. We also got, Bwipo, what I believe to be his is 3 big champions that when he was boot camping in Korea, we got Olaf, then Mordekaiser, then Swain. All new champs that we hadn't really seen him play in Spring Split, things that I think are very successful in the meta. It's a really interesting and exciting time to be a TL fan.
Well, fun fact, Bjergsen and Jensen have now tied up their head-to-head win record. And for thoughts on that, and then maybe even some more, we're joining Bjergsen and LeTigress for the Verizon post-game interview.
Thank you, Captain Flowers. What a fun TriCast that was. Team Liquid, another victory on the week. I've got Bjergsen. They're just talking about the fact that you and Jensen, the head-to-head, the rivalry. But how much do you index into the rivalry with Jensen and him coming back?
Well, I've been asked about it a lot. When Jensen wasn't playing last split, when he's back this split, I think he's a good player. It wasn't, the LeBlanc Corki matchup wasn't really the show of skill, like the skill matchup. It's just a very, he wants to farm. I want to try to punish him, but it's not super high action of a lane. So hopefully next time I play him, it's going to be a little bit more of a juicy matchup mid.
I mean, your play was definitely very juicy. You started things out with bot and then really rolling into being a strong component for the squad. But what we heard from Bwipo yesterday talked a lot about the direction Team Liquid is going, wanting to play through bot, having a defined style. Can you give me your take on that and why Team Liquid is choosing to hone in on something?
Yeah, I think that along with just being a more aggressive team has been what we talked about a lot going into the summer split and our failures from spring, not even making the finals. And I think it's really shown this week so far that we are really pushing our advantages constantly. We're constantly on the map. We're constantly in the face of the enemy team trying to fight. Whereas a lot of the wins we got last split were through very slow games, winning team fights, winning on objectives. This game we gave up the first 2 dragons and then took the 3rd fight and then just kind of push our advantage over and over inside the enemy jungle. And that is something that wasn't naturally our style, but we all agree that this is the team that we want to be, and I'm happy that we are showing that we can do that.
I mean, Team Liquid's definitely coming in with a lot of killer instinct to get these victories so far. How excited should TL fans be for you and the team and the strength that you're showing at the start of this split?
I think fans should be excited. Hope you guys are excited. I'm a lot more proud of these wins this week than I was of almost any win that we had last split, because it's not about winning, it's about how you win. And I think that we've won in a lot more of a dominant and strong showing. So I think that gives us confidence, and I hope it gives confidence to the fans too.
It is fairly early, of course, only being week 1, but is there any team in particular that you're already looking at as a big threat or someone that you would enjoy more than anyone else to take down?
I think EG is the team to beat. I heard that they only practiced like 3 days going into the split, and still they came up 3-0 with pretty consistently strong showings. We went to Korea for 2.5 weeks. We practiced for about a month going into this. So it says a lot that even off of a break, they learned a lot at MSI. They were the strongest team in the spring finals, and they're the team for us to beat right now.
Well, that's going to be a fun one to look out for in the future. Bjergsen, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Up next, we do have another match for you. Golden Guardians and CLG are taking to the stage. But in the meantime, CLG Academy head coach Juves did get some action behind the scenes on Asset Day. Let's see it.
Guys, Brandon. Good day, guys. Brandon. Good day, guys. Brandon here. Juves as well. Juves here. I'm at the LCS media day. Like, turn the camera to that guy. He always looks at me with a look of disapproval. That's kind of his disapproval look. Welcome to the Today Show. I'm your host. Who's the host? What's the guy's name? Yo, Luga, come sit on my lap. We talk. They said they only get good-looking players. They told me to go back to the office.
You can't take a picture.
I can't. I'm not allowed. They didn't think to get me a jersey with my name on it. 2017 was the start of your career, and I was there. I come to CLG in 2022, and you get promoted to LCS. I don't want to say I'm around for the best things in your life, but there seems to be a common denominator.
I mean,
this is my friend Steven. Well, actually, not my friend. I'm his boss, technically.
I mean, you're not my boss.
Technically, I'm your boss.
And you're not my friend either.
This is the disrespect I deal with every day, by the way.
This is the sort of pride that gets you in those big moments, allows you to take down giants.